Hello, my name is Grethe Lunde and I'm a stroke survivor. I'm going to talk to you today about the importance of exercise and activity after stroke. I experienced a severe stroke, a cerebral sinus venous thrombosis that left me totally paralyzed in 1994, over 28 years ago, the same day I turned 22. The doctors were certain it was migraine at first and sent me home with a bag full of medicines after I came to the ER with an extremely painful headache and nausea. I had all the classic warning signs for CSVT, but the doctors couldn't see that, and instead they put me in an induced coma for about 10 to 12 days while they discussed what was wrong with the 22-year-old. After a week in coma, I was next in line for the MRI, and the result was 4 blood clots in my brain. When I woke up from the coma, I could only blink with my eyes, that was it. My arms and legs didn't function at all. My family was told that I most likely would die, or if not that happened, I would wake up in a vegetative state and probably never be able to sit, walk or talk again. I was fortunate I survived. My way back started, and soon my left side came to life in the ICU. My right side was still paralyzed in the beginning, and still is partly put out of function. Rehabilitation started in my local hospital at first. Then I was moved to a specialized rehabilitation hospital for people with head injuries in Oslo, our capital. In total, I was hospitalized for about 5 to 6 months, and I worked really hard to get on my feet. It was probably the hardest training sessions I have ever done in my whole life. It was a real struggle to learn how to sit for the first time, then stand up, and eventually to walk a couple of steps. I'm really glad I didn't know what I had to go through when I started on the journey back to life. When I was able to walk a couple of meters for the first time, I was so proud. It was absolutely exhausting and wonderful at the same time. It felt like running a marathon. Not that I have ever done a single one. Head on, like any 22-year-old would do, I started the rest of my life. I used all my strength and stamina to relearn how to get my balance back, how to stand and how to walk again. I left the wheelchair and started on my life as a standing and walking stroke survivor, with a characteristic limping due to my partly paralyzed right side. After about 20 years, where my left side was the dominant party, I had to stiffen the proximal joint on my left big toe, and whoosh, the balance quickly disappeared. I had used my left side way too much, and the arthritis train started its journey. First on my left and good side, which left me quite imbalanced for a couple of years, and then on the right, partly paralyzed side. The landslide of broken bones in my right leg was a result of several things: an early onset of menopause, the lack of use of my legs, and medicine with side effects. Both my hips and my lower back are also osteoporotic, and I have been told to use my legs as much as possible so that new bone structure can remodel. After each broken bone session, and that's 4 metatarsals in 2016, all 3 ankle bones crushed in 2018, at last but not least, the cracked heel bone and 2 metatarsals in 2020, in the midst of COVID. I have started from scratch and used time and patience to build up myself again. Even if it took 1 year or 3 to get back on the horse and learn how to use my leg for walking. To be a stroke survivor means for me to be strong. And if you can set your mind on doing what it takes, you can certainly have a good quality of life. The last 7 to 8 years, I've had the nicest title. I'm a walking wheelchair user. I can walk, but now preferably with a walker or a stick when I'm far away from my orthopedist, and then to use a wheelchair when my legs and back needs a timeout. This was a short introduction to my stroke story. Now let's talk about what it is that helps us to keep active. I decided early in my stroke story that I wanted to get as active as possible, and I have been connected to several physiotherapists on my path. I need them to be able to do my exercises correctly due to missing body awareness and loss of function. As a former swimmer, footballer, volleyballer, and handballer, I have been active for as long as I can remember, and I have kept the motivation of exercising with me this whole time. I can see the results. Even the smallest steps are very fulfilling to experience. After I had my stroke, my first and most important goal was to be able to go back to work. And I did, after 10 months. I have been to several rehabilitation centers where I have had intensive weeks of rehab to help me get even further than I could imagine. I especially remember how nice it was to swim 30,000 meters during a 3-week rehabilitation stay for the first time after my stroke. I had been swimming in a warm therapy pool for some time before I applied for a second 3-week rehabilitation stay at the same health sports center where I had regained my water balance a couple of years earlier. My feeling of happiness when I finally managed to reach the 30,000 meter mark was epic. I did the same 8 years later and finished at 28,700 meters, which was a huge disappointment at the time. But then my neck had started to be of the more stubborn kind, so I forgave my neck and embraced the length I was able to swim. When I'm in the water, there is no limping, just me and my arms and legs moving along. Throughout my rehab journey, I have always been motivated to go the extra mile, and this has helped me to get far, both physically and mentally, when learning how to cope with the side effects of being a stroke survivor for a long time. As a stroke survivor, especially when there are physically challenges afterwards, my focus has been on maintaining my strength, balance, and stamina. And my current PT is a great motivator and guide. With spasticity and partially paralyzed right side, I know that I have to exercise to be able to prevent severe muscle stiffness, painful muscle spasms and contractions. But it has to be the correct amount of exercise. Too much, too fast, and too heavy can be the one and only thing that ruins a week. When I'm at my PT's gym, I always start my training session with a warm-up on the ergometer bike for about 10 minutes. This jump starts the muscles and tendons, and the workout is easier to complete without injuries. I go through 5 or 6 stations in the gym, and I often start with the arms, where both the biceps and triceps together with the lateral muscles will get its turn. before I move to the leg press and push my legs to the limit, with quite heavy resistance, to build bone structure. If I have more juice left in my legs, I do deep squats to the point where I know I can reach my wheelchair that is parked about 2 meters away from me. This is a new approach towards strength training for me, and started with my new PT with expertise in neuro rehab. I am grateful for the new opportunity I now have, and I can often feel the endorphins as they rush through my body after a workout. Whenever I have time for it, I meditate and do Qigong exercises. Some of them standing up and most of them sitting down for security reasons. Activities like these have been an important part of my journey as I meditate to clear my mind and do Qigong exercises to challenge my balance and calm my inner being. One of the fine things about these calm activities is that it helps me to focus. To exercise my right and robotic-like hand, I knit and crochet. I have to concentrate to hold the needles long enough to form a stitch. And if the needles are a bit too smooth and even slippery, I'm also exercising my patience. As time has passed, I've got quite a lot of pain in my body due to my funny walk and swerving around in the world. Neurological pain came to the door one day when I had a severe fall, and that's one of many. And this led to the use of wheelchairs in my daily life. And my saying is walk, wheel, knit, sleep, repeat. I love to have my wheelchairs when they are needed, but my dream is to be able to use my legs all the time. I hope research one day will find a cure for fragile bones without all the side effects. 7 years ago, I went through pain rehabilitation at the same hospital where I started to walk again. I was there together with a whole group of people who had long-term pain as the common denominator. We learned how to think of the pain as a friend and not the enemy. I especially think of my nagging neuropathic pain, which had been dragging me through the mud of depression for some time. By being active, or more specifically by exercising with higher pulse in different ways, like swimming and strength training, exercising on an indoor arm bike, or by being outdoors, hiking, that means wheeling to me, in all kinds of weather, made me more resistant and more able to take better care of my own well-being. During these 3 weeks of rehabilitations, we also had some interactive theory sessions to help us better understand the different kinds of pain we can experience and how to master the challenges we face. In these group settings, we often came up with a lot of possible solutions ourselves, and we learned a lot from each other as well. The occupational therapist had a lot of tools that we could use, that I even use today, like making a weekly plan where I categorize my activities into must do, should do, how to refill energy, and when to rest. I still use that same tactic whenever I feel like the train moves too fast and I have to organize my activities. As I am the only one living my life, it is also my duty to take responsibility for my own life and its quality. I know by experience that when I'm active, I can keep both my pain and spasticity on a distance. So I try to do as much of it as I can tolerate before the pain takes over and the gain of moving is lost. Both my husband and I are active and exercise regularly, and we have got all kinds of equipment at home, like a treadmill, an indoor training bike, weights, and rubber bands, and even a Terra trainer, that's like an arm bike, to help keep the neck and back, as well as my arms, fit for fight. I have learned that every stroke survivor should exercise to keep their strength, stamina, and balance in good shape. To be active and exercise also keeps us sane and physically able to tackle more of our daily life. Physical and psychological health often goes hand in hand, so please take care of them both. So keep on going. You mean something to someone. We all deserve a decent life. I have to stop this speak with my life motto, which is a life saved must also be lived. Thank you so much for your attention.